Welcome to the last of the tarot, the wisdom of the tarot. I'm just going to say a couple of things before I start with the card. Although this is the last one of the tarot, next week we're doing a very interesting program with Hardin Tibbs. Now, Hardin Tibbs did a program for us a few months back, and it was very well received, and he's got a mine of information. He's a futurist. He works with large corporations and government agencies, and his wealth of knowledge is fantastic. So I hope you can join us with that. Also, I'm very pleased to say that in the new year, we have got Dr. John Bruffer, who's a prolific writer, a doctor, of course. His particular interests are on natural therapies. So I hope you can join us for that. Before we get into the card, I'll just say, please do give us some feedback on these programs, what you might like to see, if you know there'd be anybody interested in being one of our speakers, or even indeed if you are interested in one of our speakers. Also, we are just arranging new courses for 2025. So it'd be interesting to know what sort of courses you've enjoyed or what sort of courses you would like to see in the future. Really, we love to hear from you. So please don't hesitate to email us with your thoughts. Okay, so here we go with the last card, the Fool. Now, this is a very, very interesting card. As you see on this card, it's got 0 as the number. Now, in some packs, the Fool is number 22, and therein lies a tale. I often think when I pick this card, I think of the song, the Beatles songs, The Fool on the Hill sees the sun going down and the eyes in his head see the world spinning round. Now, in a way, this is a little bit similar to what we might call the court jester. Now, back in the days with kings and queens, the court jester was the one person that could tell the king the truth. And there again in lies a story. Now, in some ways, this has got two very different meanings. The Fool in a mundane area could be exactly what this picture indicates. Here is a young person about to step off a cliff. The little dog is warning him by his side, but he's not taking any notice. So on a mundane level, this is about being careful where you're going. Are you doing what is sensible? Is this a disaster waiting to happen? But a much more interesting aspect to this card is quite different, because the Fool is the enlightened one. The Fool who has been on many journeys, and all the journeys that we've talked about in the cards in the previous weeks. He's been on many journeys and he's learned a great deal. Now, I'm going to relate to you a story that was told to me by a student many years ago, because I think this is relevant. She was down on her luck. She was very depressed. She was wandering around and she sat on a bench by the river. And next to her sat an old man that looked like a down and out. And after a while, he was talking to her and she was relaying some of her difficulties. And he said to her, if you have two walls, one very smooth and one very rough, which one would you climb? Thinking about this for a while, she said, well, of course I'd climb the rough one. And he said to her, would that be how you live your life? And the story of that is the hard things that we go through are the very things that make us move forward. So in all the many things that you've encountered in your life, the hard things, the difficult things are the very things that bring transformation. So the Fool can be an enlightened one. If you look at this picture, He's a young person. He's got his head up to the sun. He has no cares in the world because he knows that he's safe. And although he stands on a precipice here, he has no worries or concerns about that because he knows that everything is part of life's rich tapestries. And he probably knows and thinks that if he did step off the cliff, he would be perfectly safe. So this is a card, or can be a card, of enlightenment. Someone who is at peace with themselves, who is still going on through the journey of life with no cares, no worries. He's still in himself, and his head rising to the sun indicates that he encourages and likes the adventures of life. And the major arcana of the tarot cards tell us of all the adventures of life that we can encounter. So when you pick this card, you may meditate on this. And a word about the meditations back at the beginning when we talked about what these cards can be useful for. When you choose a card to meditate on, although I've given you many things on many different cards, what is most important is what you yourself home into on the card. Sometimes it might be just a little icon or the title or the color and so on. And that is what you must meditate on. Because in all the things I've said to you, hopefully useful to you, what is most useful is what your own meditation brings to you. Now, let's just say something about intent. When you go into any meditation, it's important that you engage your will in the process. And that means your intent is not what you might wish to see or fear to see. It's about what you're asking, what is real, what is true, what is going to enlighten you without judgment, unconditionally asking for what you need to know about your next stage in the journey. And that could be many and varied, without fear, without judgment, but just asking the highest, greatest good to help enlighten you on your next stage of journey, whatever that may entail. So I hope you've really enjoyed these cards. I think they're a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information, and I hope that they bring you the same wealth of information and joy on your journey. Go well.